Welcome back. Thank you so much for watching. Today marks the 7th day of the international war in Ukraine, and we are reporting and filming today from the peaceful Berlin Wall on the 2nd of March 2022. Legacy news outlets as well as the UN cite that at least 136 people have been killed, including 13 children, and over 1,000 people have been wounded as a consequence of the war in Ukraine. Unfortunately, the war seems to be escalating. Military tanks, a convoy of 40 miles of Russian tanks, is heading to Kyiv. The economic sanctions that have been put in place or are being placed have been reported on many times by now. As always, this information is preliminary and might turn out to be partly or wholly wrong. Russia holds the 5th largest reserve of foreign exchange worldwide. So hitting Russia with economic and financial sanctions is extremely hard, especially if the wished result of the economic sanction is to end a self-started military international aggression. Russia holds the 5th largest foreign exchange worldwide, counts only 16% US dollars. Over 22% of the foreign exchange is held in gold. Europe receives 47% of its fossil fuel energy from Russia. While we're not really sure what constitutes an economy, what has hit hard are over 1,700 people who have been detained by Russian police while protesting for peace. So we're not really sure what constitutes an economy and how to hit it hard, but surely it's not just some oligarchs whose money we can suspend. As I said before, the UN cites that over 136 people have been killed, at least, while these numbers most likely are an underestimation. Over 1,000 people have been wounded and over 600,000 people have fled the Ukraine. Nearly all UN diplomats walked out during a session at the UN in New York, while the Russian diplomat was about to deliver its statement or argument, pro-Russia statement and argument, arguing that it was inevitable to invade a foreign country. This is portrayed as a strong move. Well, I'm not so sure about the strength there. Well, it's pretty easy to walk out an obvious lie. What takes more courage is to stand up and leave the room if the state-told lies aren't as obvious. But nonetheless, what else to do takes a bit of courage, so well done, UN. As I said before, it takes more courage to walk out on lies that are a hint less obvious. So further, there seems to be staying in the real world no real way to contradict with the economic truth that we profit off of war without federally, statewide thinking about new economic policies. Right, don't you agree at this point? Neoliberal capitalism seems to be a loop that does not get us anywhere. Certainly it does not get us world peace. So moving on. It's time to think about which country wants to go first with a universal basic income. If you have a better policy that breaks from capitalism, add me, great. UBI means that a whole country's workforce does not necessarily have to invest their time at a workplace, and their time will inevitably be abused and exploited by someone who works above them in order to finance life and to raise a family or to decide independently of one's parents' income what to do with their lives. On top of that, it's a hugely popular policy. Of course it is. It's the government giving you a monthly universal income. It is also a humanistic policy, a peaceful one, and one that is favored by the majority of people, and one that tackles poverty and fights for independence. And the only people who are against tackling poverty and against fighting independence are the mega corporations and shitty employers. Obviously, all economic policies are favored towards the West. Trade, finance, tax, procurement, resources, education. Obviously, they're stacked in the West's favor. So great thing is that you can export policy ideas such as UBI. So I'm ignoring all point of views that deviate from this is Putin's war. I understand that it's somewhat easy to get caught in propaganda, and I understand that this can happen. But it also means that at the end of the day, your policy interpretation is more shallow than mine, so I am ignoring it. I know you can be surprised or outraged by the fact that Putin has ordered its nuclear forces to be on launch with increased readiness. Germany is increasing its military budget threefold, which means obviously they are delaying climate action. So let's give us some, or at least one policy that tackles poverty, the number one step to achieve sustainability. Can one German party, preferably one that is governing, run on a universal basic income? Because everything else is blah blah.
Right. And like